Hello everyone, today we are going to be revisiting the Emax Cinehawk Mini. Yeah, this one right here. I think it's this one. Nope, actually I have two of them. I marked the second one. Yeah, there it is. Got twos on the back of this one. That may came around backwards in the camera, but yeah, two. And if you recall in my previous full review video, it ended kind of like this. There. So at this time, for me, this would be a not to buy. So before that video, I'd actually sent Emax an email letting them know I was having some troubles with it. Unfortunately, that message got lost in the shuffle or something like that. So, of course, after the video was posted and live, they got with me, and kudos to them. They believe in their product. They believed there was something amiss, so they didn't come back and do what sometimes other companies will do, which is, one, either just go dark on you, or two, the communication that you do have with them is not fun and really negative, you know, stuff like, you're trying to destroy our business. My experience is my experience, right? So we got a second one. They sent another one along. I went out and bought a VTX. One thing I completely stand behind, though, is putting O3s inside these. Not just this one, but other Cinewhoops too. Complete pain. This one, it's more tedious because of the whole separation of the platforms. But what we did find is that my original one, whether it was the O3 or the actual quad, well, just didn't operate right. So, of course, we've got some new footage here. This is somewhat of an odd day. It's a very calm day. 4 miles an hour in the winds. Excuse my tongue twister there. And it's overcast, but yet bright. But anyway, so it took me a number of days of outflying this thing to get one of these lucky low wind days. Sometimes the wind would be reported low, but you can actually feel more down on the grass. And you can see that this is the onboard recording of the VTX itself. You have the DJI-03 with the Rocksteady or the EIS, electronic image stabilization, turned on, and it smooths everything right out. I didn't run this through GyroFlow or anything extra like that, just stock right off of the 03. Of course, you do have my flight audio that I always mix in with my reviews that comes from a secondary camera sitting on the table. And you can see my results here are actually really good. And so there must have been something wrong with either the 03 in my original or just something amiss. Who knows what it could be, whether it's flight controller, motor, construction of the frame, something was just amiss to where I just didn't have good results. And again, kudos for Emax. You know, they stood behind their product, and they, at their own expense, they sent another one out, paid for shipping and everything, and you know, I can't hardly complain about that. And that's why I'm actually making this video and not just kind of cruising past it. I did want to do something a little bit interesting, so at random, I grabbed another quad. This is the GEPRC 25S, so their Sport Edition. That was the box on top with the same prop size. That was the main thing I was shooting for, was to compare the same prop size, 2.5 inch, 2.5 inch. Keep it even, Steven. And so then as we go into the side-by-side, of course, these flights are not equal. They are flights done on the same day, but, you know, at slightly different times, because I don't have two pilots. It's just me, and I've only got one radio and one set of goggles. And I'm just trying to fly the same basic flight path. Of course, my speeds don't quite match, and yes, tried this a few times as well, and you know, it's just very difficult when you're flying different quads to fly them the same rate as well as, you know, the same paths and everything like that. So I kind of matched things up from the start about as best I could, but I just wanted to give you a shot at doing a comparison. In this format, you're probably going to need to, you know, really diagnose things. You're going to need to get it on a large screen, probably at the very least a tablet. A large monitor would probably be best, so where you can really enhance everything that you see. And I do think, if, especially on the descents, and my, you know, the slight descents, I try to do the cinematic sort of descent where you do nose down ever so slightly, and then you kind of cruise down, not like you would in a mountain region, but you're just trying to drop some elevation relatively gingerly, let's say. I do think that the Cinlog 25S was smoother than it was on the Mini Hawk. Or I guess I should say the Cinehawk Mini. The Mini comes last, not as part of the primary name. But you can see that when I go above the house by the chimney and above that big tree, and then also when I go down over the garage area. I also put together a DVR because I wanted you to be able to experience what I experienced in the goggle side by side. So this is the goggle DVR. This has no image stabilization involved. It's just straight out of the goggles. I didn't run it through any sort of stabilization program. And again, this is the same flight. It's just a goggle DVR. And then I tried to match them up in order to be able to show you a little bit. Because I not only were my results better with the Mini, but I wanted to add some value to the video to where we could compare it against at least one other product. So some of you watching are going to say, oh, can you do the same thing for this quad and this quad and this quad? I probably won't. I don't mean to be rude or anything negative. It's just so tedious to do this stuff. I couldn't tell. Maybe it's just I'm not that talented at trying to repeat these things, but it took me a number of tries on this day to try to just remember my own stinking path and then to try to fly them the same at the same rate. Woo-hoo-hoo. Not a skill that I am very good at. I'm a little bit more practiced at it now, but I'm definitely not skilled at it. But this gives you an idea of the actual flight experience and any camera movement that you might experience in the quad, any sort of, well, hopefully, I shouldn't say it so definitively. Hopefully this side by side with the goggle DVR gives you some idea and the minor differences between these two quads. Now, I think something else that I would have to highlight between these two quads is I think the Cinebot, because of its plastic construction, isn't going to be as durable. So if you hit it going fast or you do a dive or something like that, I flight test these things in a much more aggressive freestyle racing sort of format. I think this one would be more likely to break. But I don't think you want to fly this one in an aggressive format at all anyways, because of that secondary flat platform and with those gummies. When you do anything abrupt, you get a little bit of a recoil effect with everything shifting because it's wanting to smooth everything out. And so when you do something quick, it then shifts back. You get that recoil. So I think you want to make sure on this particular one that A, you have very low winds, because I found it more susceptible to winds as they picked up. Probably because of the flat edges. They went with a different design. They did their own thing. They didn't do any sort of curvature. This is just flat around the edges. And then that platform being on gummies. So this is really a single purpose quad, which most of these are. But if you did happen to want it for general purposes, probably not the one you're going to want because of that recoil effect of the secondary platform, or the clean platform, you might even call it, up here up top. But again, I have to give Emax credit and kudos for sticking with their product, standing behind their product, and saying, something's wrong. They didn't come after me and attack me and say, you screwed up, you're a knucklehead, whatever. They were cool about it. I wish we'd worked it all out before the original video went live, because another thing that I thought about was, what am I going to do? There's so much valuable information, or at least I shouldn't say valuable. There's so much information, at least in the original review video, even though it's only 9 minutes long, about the quad, and this video will probably end up being longer, so I don't want to redo that video. So I'm going to leave that other video up, but I'm going to add into the video description, as well as a card, as well as a pinned comment to encourage the viewers that might go to that video after the fact now and come watch this video in order to see, what I think is the Cinehawk Mini properly operating. Of course, this video won't have faster flight in it, but I just want to do that. Not basically, when it comes to product reviews and FPV, after they launch, after the video kind of hits, the views really nosedive pretty fast. I mean, I would be surprised if more than 50 views on the original video have happened since that launched a month ago. So I'm not overly concerned about that, but if anybody were to see that old video, I do want them to be aware there is a follow-up to that. So if someone possibly online mentions my original, I would appreciate it. I'm sure Emax would appreciate it if you'd let them know, hey, there's a follow-up to that, because there was something amiss with that quad, because the results the second time around with the second one, which again is marked in gold marker there, turned out better. And so again, I appreciate Emacs for standing behind their product. I appreciate everybody who's watching this video now, and I also appreciate any of you who might see someone else talking about my original video and hopefully redirecting them to this more updated, properly working Mini from Emacs. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.